see you one last time.
This video brought to you by Wilson's Heart, exclusively for Oculus Touch. Just like movies, video games aren't all about what you can see. From sound effects to music, the audio design is integral to the feel and atmosphere of a good gaming experience. Today, we're taking a look at the 10 most terrifying sounds in gaming. The Kaernk, Amnesia: The Dark Descent. As one of the most effective horror games of the last decade, Amnesia: The Dark Descent is full of unnerving sounds to choose from. In fact, we struggled to come up with a sound from this game that wouldn't have a place on this list. There's only room for one though, and our pick goes to Amnesia's most unique foe. The Kaernk is completely invisible and tears you to shreds the moment it gets its claws on you. In a fantastic merging of audio and visuals, you can track its movements by the splashes it makes in the watery dungeon. There are several moments where you'll have to get in the water with it and make a mad dash for the exit. Hearing those dreaded splashes coming up behind you brings an incredible rush of fear like few other horror titles come close to. The Vents, Alien Isolation. A definite contender for scariest game of 2014. Alien Isolation succeeds in capturing the incredibly tense atmosphere of Ridley Scott's original film. The xenomorph's impact tapered a bit around the halfway mark, but we'd defy anyone to shrug off those incredible opening hours. A key element of the survival horror gameplay took the form of the vents that made up much of the ship's architecture. As risky to use as they were rewarding, it's possible to use the vents as a hiding place and shortcuts. Of course, your alien pursuer is able to use them in the exact same way. The sound of a vent unexpectedly opening whilst walking past it has given us more than a few jump scares. However, nothing in the game is more terrifying than hearing the ominous clunks of a crawling xenomorph drawing closer and closer. Regenerator, Resident Evil 4. If we were told to name the Resident Evil title we thought was objectively the scariest, it probably wouldn't be the fourth entry. Despite the creepy atmosphere and brilliantly designed boss fights, Resident Evil 4 wasn't quite as focused on scaring players as the previous titles. That's not to say it didn't have its moments though. In particular, the Regenerators are the stuff of nightmares. Huge monstrosities, Regenerators are able to shrug off an entire arsenal's worth of bullets. They're unstoppable, hulking menaces that inspire true panic at every appearance. This is only made worse by the inhuman, eerie rasping noise they make whilst shambling towards you. The Scream, Cry of Fear. Despite being a fairly well-made, free mod for Half-Life, Cry of Fear isn't much of a standout in the vast genre of survival horror. So why does it feature on this list? To be honest, nothing we can say can explain it better than the sound itself. Yeah, good luck with that sleep you were planning to have later. Cliff Racer, Morrowind. Speaking with any long-time Elder Scrolls aficionado, and there's a good chance they'll rank Morrowind as their favorite entry. Of course, those same fans are just as likely to argue that Morrowind's cliff racers are among gaming's most irritating enemies. As you might have guessed, the sound of a cliff racer isn't scary in quite the same way as the previous entries in this video. Rather than inspiring fear, the infamous screech instead brings the dread of having to deal with a long, annoying fight against an enemy that seems to never stop. All of this made worse by the fact that you'll never spot a cliff racer until it's right on you. The hit detection for these winged creatures is also ridiculously small, meaning you can hack all day without any result. Fortunately, the modding community came through, and the Cliff Racer Extinction patch is one of the most downloaded of all time. River Twygz bed music, Super Paper Mario. Nintendo are notorious for adding scary elements to games that would otherwise be playable by 5-year-olds, and Super Paper Mario is no exception. One such example is this incredibly creepy music that plays during the River Twygz level. Compared to the generally upbeat, chirpy tracks found elsewhere in the franchise, this is total nightmare fuel. The whole thing seems more suited to accompany the demonic chants of a cult than the fun adventures of Nintendo's most beloved mascot. ReDead, Ocarina of Time. Beyond the rolling green hills and musical numbers, Ocarina of Time is a pretty creepy game. The House of Skulltula made for a genuinely disturbing story, and we definitely don't like being around the happy mask salesman for too long. If there's an award for most nightmares inspired though, the top prize would go to the ReDead. Gaunt, zombie-like creatures, the ReDead are slow and shambling, enough so to easily outrun. Just don't let them stumble too close. If Link gets within arm's length, you're greeted by a disturbing scream and an even more disturbing sight. For reasons unknown, the ReDead's favourite method of dispatching heroes is to dry hump them to death. Thank you for ruining our dreams forever, Nintendo. The Creeper from Minecraft. You've just put the finishing touches on your masterpiece. Yep, those hours you spent making sure the front porch is perfectly symmetrical were well spent. Anyway, it's getting dark, better head inside. Similarly to the Cliff Racer, the sound of a creeper is one that precedes annoyance. Except instead of a lengthy battle, there's a good chance you've got some serious rebuilding to do. A surprise creeper attack is something all Minecraft players dread, and the simple sound file that accompanies its appearance has quickly become a classic of PC gaming. Headcrab zombies, Half-Life 2. The Half-Life series is stuffed with a wild variety of enemies, and none are more uniquely terrifying than the Headcrab zombies. The claws and bloodied appearance are scary enough, but what really brings them over the edge are the haunting screams. Listened to normally, the sound of various zombies are bad enough. While intimidating, the cries are also strangely pitiful. On further investigation, the screams become even more sinister. Eagle-eared fans quickly realize that the sounds seem to take on a speech-like structure, despite being totally uninterpretable. Once played backwards, all becomes clear. That's right, the human minds of the zombies are still aware and conscious. Being helplessly trapped in a zombified body until the inevitable death by Freeman is just about one of the worst fates we can imagine. Radio Static, Silent Hill series. Silent Hill 2 is probably the most highly regarded slice of psychological horror in gaming. Just about every element has been carefully crafted to keep the player in a constant state of tension. The sounds of Silent Hill are integral to the unforgettable experience. Who can forget the dreaded metal scraping that signifies an imminent Pyramid Head appearance, or the stomach-churning soundtrack that drives the whole experience? There's one sound that ties it all together though, and that's the radio static. It's simple. If the radio static starts playing, then danger is near. The association is strong enough to put us on edge whilst hearing the sound, even outside the game. It's a twisted take on Pavlovian conditioning, and you, the player, are the unsuspecting test subject. That's it for the most terrifying sounds in gaming, though there are a ton more, so let us know your favourite terrifying sounds in the comments below. This has been Dash for Curse, saying thanks for watching and enjoy the game.
And to see you one last time.
This video brought to you by Wilson's Heart, exclusively for Oculus Touch, bringing you an interactive mystery experience unlike any other.